BJ70 Landcruiser, 1986. Just picked it up for a customer of mine, and I'm bringing it home to do some work on it. You can probably hear the exhaust is a little bit loud. It's doing, what are we doing here? About almost 80 kilometers an hour. The exhaust is a little on the loud side because there's no muffler right now, so that's going to have to get fixed. Anyways, there's a few little things to deal with on this. So yeah, this is where we're at right now in our journey. So the BJ70 is now in my garage. I went over it yesterday for a couple hours, took a look at several things that need some attention. Here we have the 3B diesel engine. So this BJ70 I've had for close to 8 weeks now. It's undergone quite a bit of work. I'm just going to run through some of the work that I've done on this truck. So the radiator was removed and re-cored. Fan shroud, powder coated. Crossover tube, powder coated. The radiator support bracket here was also powder coated, as was the washer. The air cleaner box I sandblasted and painted myself. This thermostat housing here, there was actually a pinhole leak in the aluminum, so it was TIG welded, sandblasted, painted, new thermostat, new rad cap. This heater hose was rotten, so I replaced it with a silicone one and the ABA style stainless steel hose clamps. Another hose replaced over there. These battery brackets were taken off. These little angles were rotten, so I cut them off, made new ones and welded them on. I then sandblasted the brackets and installed new ones. Battery cables. Crimped on new eyelets, heat shrinked with dual wall heat shrink tube, new military style battery terminals on both batteries. Ignore the piece of wood here. These batteries are undersized. They were purchased by the owner. Power steering fluid was flushed. New coolant, new engine oil, new fuel filter, new heater hose on this side. New heater hose back there. You can see the blue one. This 90-degree hose here was also replaced. And new power steering belt was installed. The fan, you can just see the down there, the alternator belt pulley was powder coated as well. And that pretty much does it for the engine side of things. I did drain the water separator. Hadn't been drained for a while. Now down here, see if I can get my light down there. New oil filter. This housing, this housing is for the oil cooler. It was leaking, so that was replaced. You can kind of see it down there. Sandblasted, painted, new gasket seals. And the windshield. The windshield was all cracked. There was 4 major rust spots along the bottom. Those were cut out. New steel was welded in. Wiper arms were sandblasted and painted. New windshield wipers. Coming down to the front end here. I'll crawl underneath here. New brake calipers and pads. The inner axle seals were replaced. The knuckle kind of wiper set assembly on the back here, that's new. Bearings repacked, knuckle repacked with new grease. What else can I show you down here? That's about it for this area. Everything else was pressure washed and cleaned. You can see the oil cooler up underneath there. and the oil filter housing. There are some drip pans underneath that I sandblasted, and I had to weld up some hairline cracks. So I'll just show you these guys. They're done with rust bullet. This truck is going to a rust prone area. So I wanted to test this rust bullet out, and I figured what better place to try this. Installed with stainless steel hardware. Okay, so now we're gonna head around to the back of the truck. The fuel tank was dropped. A new fuel suction tube was installed. This shield here was repaired as it was rotten right there and up here. So I welded new steel in there, mounted it with stainless steel hardware as well. Now the filler tube is brand new Toyota filler tube. You can see up here, there's some rust proofing stuff on it there, which is what that kind of goopy stuff looks like. So that was done. Fuel tank straps were rotten on the front, so they were both removed, rust bullet applied. The rot in the straps was cut out, and I welded in new steel. This bracket back here had broken off, so I made one and welded it on. And the fuel pickup tube in the tank was also replaced, so I had to drop the fuel tank. I don't know if you can see it in there. You can kind of just, yeah, anyways, you'll see a picture of it there in a second. The frame was all redone from the back all the way up to here. New exhaust. I didn't actually do the exhaust this time. I had somebody else do it, and he did a decent job. I had somebody 3D print some frame plugs. The frame is thicker in this part because of the repair that was done, and I wanted to make sure not a bunch of crap was getting in. And where the shock tubes are, I got some round plugs to plug those holes. And finally, the rear axle here. I fabricated a new brake line for the rear axle. And as you can see, also installed new rear wheel cylinders, inspected the rear brakes, etc., adjusted them. New diff oil in the front. The rear was checked, it was good. The transmission and transfer case were checked, it was good. What else can I tell you? New shackles in the back. He really just needs new springs, but this is going to suffice for now. And what else? Lots of work on this guy. New dash lights on the interior. A lot of them were burnt out. A lot of new bulbs on the exterior, which were burnt out. One of the headlight bulbs was burnt out, so new headlight bulb was installed. Yeah, just cleaned everything up, tidied everything up. This is a Canadian BJ70. It's got the 4-cylinder 3B diesel engine. And it has the 5-speed transmission. Flush the clutch master, flush the brake master. You can't flush these things often enough. I recommend every year to really keep on top of things. It's amazing how quickly the fluid can get dirty, and brake fluid is hygroscopic, meaning it does absorb water, so you want to keep an eye on that. I did clean the reservoirs. I need to top this one up a little bit because I just bled the coolant, or filled it up with coolant yesterday and ran it, and after having to drain all the coolant to do the oil cooler, and it's gone down a little bit, so I'm going to top that up. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers all the big stuff. Lots of work. Oh, I should note with the frame, I vacuumed it out and I blew it out thoroughly several times. I then sprayed Osfo in the frame rail with a weed sprayer, and I let it sit for several days until it was dry, actually over a week. I then blew it out again, and then I thoroughly coated the inside of the frame with fluid film. So I'm hoping the frame will be good for quite a long time now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of all the work I did. Well, almost 8 weeks ago, I brought this BJ70 up to my place to do a bunch of work on it, taking it for its final drive before the owner takes it on a 14 or 15 hour drive back home. Got lots done. One of those things being replacing the dash lights and the burnt out light bulb for the four-wheel drive indicator. Brand new windshield gasket. Removed the rust on the windshield frame. It'll be kind of sad to see it go, but I'm very happy with the work that was done. And even polished up the hood. It's always nice to have a nice shiny hood to look at when you're driving down the street. This truck is 1986, barely even broken in, 280,000 kilometers. Engine runs like a top. Gonna go for one more round around the block here. Last night I finished replacing the oil cooler. It's always important to take your vehicle for a test drive to ensure that there's no leaks. So after doing about 300 kilometers, I discovered there was a little oil leak, which would explain why the passenger side of the engine was completely covered with oil. And yeah, so I'm glad I took it for a thorough test drive, got the oil leak diagnosed, and it was coming from the oil cooler housing gasket. There are some oil passages back there. So yeah, got that all done. Anyways, this is going to be the end of the work on this vehicle, hopefully for a long time. I am excited for the owner to get the vehicle, and hopefully he can enjoy it for years to come with no issues.